Hello friends, welcome back to our channel NEET Biology Expert. I am Dr. Parveen. In this lecture series, we are studying about the reproduction in organisms, particularly the vegetative reproduction in plants. In our previous lesson, we studied about the vegetative reproduction in plants with stem modification. Okay, so as a continuation of that, in this lecture, we are going to study about vegetative reproduction in plants with root and leaf modification. Let us have a short glimpse of what is vegetative reproduction. Vegetative reproduction means it is an asexual method of reproduction which occurs in plants. Okay. So if this asexual means of reproduction occurs in plants, we particularly use the term vegetative reproduction. Here there is no male or female, only one parent will be involved from which the offsprings are produced. Okay. So this vegetative reproduction is broadly classified into two categories: natural vegetative reproduction, which occurs naturally, and artificial vegetative reproduction, which is done by man or man-made. Okay. So in this natural vegetative reproduction, there are three modifications. That means the plants adopts any of these three modifications to produce their offsprings asexually. It could be a stem modification, it could be a root modification, or it could be a leaf modification. So in our previous lecture, we have covered the stem modification in plants like underground stem modification, rhizomes, bulbs, bulbils, like this. Okay. Or subaerial stem modifications like stolons, offsets, runners, like that. Okay. So in this lesson, we will see about the other modifications. Okay. So before that, in this lesson, many times, often we are going to come across a word called adventitious bud. Okay. So let us first understand what is the meaning for this word adventitious buds means. What is adventitious? Adventitious means anything that grows where it normally would not grow. For example, if you see this is a plant. Okay. So here the plant has two parts, that is called apical meristem, we used to say. The plant usually grows from this apical meristem. So one part will be there on the shoot, that is called shoot meristem. From the shoot meristem only the shoot part will grow. And similarly in the roots, they have root meristem. So from the root meristem, the extension of the roots will be there. Okay. So usually plants grows from this meristem. Here, adventitious buds grow out of different places than the apical meristem. So, some plants have this adventitious buds producing capability, not every plant. Okay. So, some plants have this capability wherein they produces some structures called adventitious buds. So, from that adventitious buds, the plants will grow. This is apart from their usual growth places. Okay. So, these adventitious bud could be on their leaves, on their shoots, or on their roots. So that depends upon the plant. So adventitious bud may be on plant's root. For example, if you see this gray color is a normal root. Here you could see this red color. These are adventitious buds on the roots. So from this adventitious buds, the plant starts to grow like this. Okay. Or sometimes on some plants, the adventitious buds will be on the leaves. So this is a normal leaf, whereas if it is an adventitious bud producing plant, these buds will be there here like this. Small buds will be there on their leaves. Okay. For some plants, these buds will be on their stem part. Okay. So this is the adventitious bud on the stem. So from this adventitious bud, the new plant starts to grow. So these are the asexual method of reproduction modifications in the plant. So in order to grow asexually, the plants have this adaptation or modification. Okay. So let us first talk about vegetative propagation in plants by the root modifications. That means roots of some plants develop vegetative or adventitious buds on them, which are generally absent in the roots of others. This is important. Not every plant roots will have this type of adventitious buds. Okay. Only some plants which reproduce asexually that too with a modification in their root. Okay, they only have this adventitious buds on their root system. So what will happen? The roots with the adventitious bud detach from the parent plant and they grow into an independent plant under suitable condition. Okay. So example for these types are Murraya, Dalbergia and Millingtonia. These are higher plants. Look at this picture. This is the structure. This is the plant Murraya. Okay. So here this is the stem of a big Murraya tree. From the root of this Murraya tree, the nearby roots, from the, you could see here the roots, right? So from the roots here, a new young one is developing. So young plant grows from the roots of the adult plant. So example for that is Murraya tree. This is the Murraya tree with the beautiful white color flower. The another example for vegetative propagation by root system modification is Dalbergia. Dalbergia is a very huge tree. Okay, so we could see this small young ones which comes from the root. For example, if this is the stem trunk of this tree, from this root system, here this young one will start developing from this adventitious bud. Okay, so the another example is Dalbergia. And the third example for this root system is Millingtonia. Millingtonia is called as tree jasmine. This is a very huge tree with a beautiful white flowers and it smells like jasmine. So we used to call this tree as tree jasmine. Okay, also called as Indian cork tree. So this tree also reproduces asexually with the adventitious root modification. Okay. But in some plants, though it has an adventitious roots, they will have this tuberous adventitious roots. That means some tuberous adventitious roots, apart from developing buds, they also store food. Okay. So previously we have seen some trees. Those trees, they have adventitious roots. What is the use of that? Purpose of those roots? Only to develop the young ones. From that, the young ones will be developed. That's one. Okay, but some plants adventitious roots are tuberous. Tuberous means they store food on their roots. Okay, so for example, in the stem modification we have studied bulbs like this. Okay, corms, rhizomes like this. So what are those modifications? They store their food materials. Okay, so like this, in some plants on their roots, these tuberous roots, they store their food along with their adventitious root system. Okay, so here a particular famous example for this is sweet potato. So the biological name for sweet potato is Ipomia batatas. Okay, so this is the sweet potato root. This root is adventitious tuberous root. So here this is the starch material the organism is throwing. So here this is the starch material the organism is storing. That is the food reserve for that plant. Okay. So when it wants to reproduce, what will happen? See here, this is the old stem. Here adventitious bud is there. So from this bud, like this, from this adventitious bud, a new shoot will grow like this. Okay. But if you see on the lower part will have their food storage, that is tubers. Okay. So one example for this tuberous adventitious root system is sweet potato. The another example for tuberous adventitious root system is Dahlia. Dahlia is a beautiful flowering plant. Okay. So look at this picture. This is the root of this Dahlia plant, wherein you could see here this is the tuber formation. Means it stores the food in this part and it also acts as an adventitious root. Okay. So when we want to plant this flowering plant, so from this adventitious root, what will happen? The plant grows like this. The young ones grows from this roots. Okay. So one example is Dahlia. Then the another famous examples are tapioca, asparagus. So all these are edible roots. Okay, tapioca, asparagus, and all. So they store their food material and also they act as a reproducing part. Okay, asexual reproducing part. So these are the examples for the root modification. The second category is vegetative propagation in leaves. So some plants, they develop adventitious buds on their leaves. So they help in their vegetative propagation. Okay. So look at this picture. We have already seen this too. So this is a leaf. On this leaf, we could see small adventitious buds. They are like small plants, very young one. Okay. So when these plants get detached from the parent, they grow into a new individual plant in the moist soil. So when these plants, small young ones, that is the adventitious buds, they get detached from the parent leaf when they fall in the soil. If the soil is moist and the environment is suitable, from that place they start growing and the new plant grows. Okay. So very important example for adventitious bud modification on the leaves is Bryophyllum. Bryophyllum is the name of a plant. The leaf is succulent. Succulent means it's very thick. Okay, the center part of the leaf is thick and it has many notch like this on their margin. You could see here small, many buds on both the sides of this leaves. Okay, so the leaves support the development of tiny shoot buds, right? So the biological name for Bryophyllum is Bryophyllum pinnatum. It has another common name that is called mother of thousands. That means this leaves carries thousands of small buds on its margins. Okay, so from that new young ones will develop. So it is called mothers of thousand, or it is also called as a piggyback plant. Piggyback, small kids used to play piggyback, no? So like this, it carries its young ones on its leaves. So it is called piggyback plant. So let us see the structure in little bit closer. So this is the leaf of this Bryophyllum. Okay. So on its corners, on its margins, we could see this small buds. Okay. So these buds are called epiphyllous buds. These epiphyllous buds, they have a root system. We could see here, see, this is the root system. So once they fall off from this mother plant and in the moist soil, they start to develop from this small roots. Okay. So reproduction by leaf, a very good example is Bryophyllum. So we could see here these small buds on the margin of this plant is called epiphyllous buds. There are some other examples for vegetative propagation in the leaves. Example is Begonia. So Begonia is a very flat, large leaf system, and we could see a small notch like structure here. These are the buds, leaf buds on this plant. So once these buds fall off from that area, a new plant will grow. Okay. Another example is Adiantum caudatum. This is called walking fern. This is another plant having the leaf modification. And third one is Calonchi. Calonchi is the same like Bryophyllum, but the size of these buds are little much bigger compared to Bryophyllum. Okay, same on its margin. They have like this. And another beautiful violet color flowering plant is Saint Paulia. They also have this adventitious buds on their leaves. Okay, so for example, if you see, if this is an adventitious bud, this bud is having definitely leaf. They have leaves, 2 leaves, 3 leaves like this. Okay, and they have root, a short roots. These roots only when they fall on the soil, from that place it starts growing. Okay, they have a root system, they have a shoot system, and they have an intermediate, a small short stem. Okay, so like this, on the surface of margins of the leaf, the plant carries many adventitious buds. This is a method of asexual reproduction by leaf modification, right? Okay, so let us revise what we have learned in this lesson. First, what is asexual reproduction? Organisms do reproduction asexually without male and female gamete formation. If this reproduction occurs in plants, we call them as asexual reproduction. This asexual reproduction is broadly classified into two categories: natural vegetative propagation and artificial vegetative propagation. Natural vegetative propagation could be modification in the stem, could be modification on the roots, or could be modification on the leaves of the plants. Okay. So stem modification example are, if the modification is underground stem, the examples are rhizomes, corms, tuber, bulbs, bulbils and suckers. These are all modifications in the stems. They are called underground stem modification. Okay. The modification will be, that means the stem will be below the soil level. Okay. And the second category is subaerial or creeping stem modification. Here the examples are runners, stolons and offsets. Okay. So runners means if it is, if this is one plant, if this is another plant. Okay. So the connection between the two plants above the soil level, this is called runner. So in some plants, the same runner will be like an arch shape. This is called stolon. Okay. In some plants, the runner will be in water, underground water. For example, in water, hyacinth. So these are the examples for stem modification. And root modification, some plants have modified root system. They produce adventitious roots. Example, Murraya, Dalbergia, Millingtonia. These are higher trees. And some plants, the root system, apart from having adventitious buds, they also store food materials. Okay. So example for that tuberous adventitious buds are sweet potato, dahlia, tapioca and asparagus. And third modification is leaf modification. Some plants will have adventitious roots, adventitious buds on their leaves. Example are Bryophyllum, Begonia, walking fern, Calongia and Saint Paulia. Understand? Okay. Let us see what are the advantages of this natural vegetative reproduction method in plants. Here, only one parent is required for propagation. That we know, because this is an asexual method of reproduction. So, only one parent is needed. Right? Then, the individual parent produce the organism which is 100% genetical to the parent. Okay. For example, we have seen Bryophyllum, it carries the adventitious buds on its leaves. So when all these buds fall off and grows into a new plant, all the plants will be 100% same as the parent plant. There is no hybrid or there is no genetic modification, nothing will be there. Okay. So the young ones produced are 100% same as the parent plant. Okay. Also, this method enables the plant to spread rapidly. Means it produces very fastly. Example for this is spinifex. Look at this picture. This is spinifex. This is like a grass variety. So these plants, they produce by this asexual method of reproduction, so that it could spread fastly. The generations are spread very fast. Okay. So it enables the organisms or the plants to spread very fastly. That's why horticulturists and farmers, they are using this natural vegetative propagation as a method for cultivation and to harvest the plant in a large scale. So these are the advantages of natural method. There are few disadvantages in this natural method also. So what are they? The new plants produced have no genetic variation. Right? We have seen the new plant produced are 100% same as the parent one. There won't be any genetic variation. This is not a big disadvantage. Okay. So it is, but it is a part of a disadvantage, because if you want a hybrid or crossover plant like this, we could not able to produce by this natural method of vegetative reproduction. Okay. We have to follow the artificial method. And vegetative propagules get easily decayed and they are prone to infections like bacterial, viral and fungal infection. For example, the vegetative propagules means what? Vegetative propagules means these adventitious roots, buds or rhizomes, bulbs, bulbils, all these modifications are there, no? So these are called vegetative propagules. Vegetative propagules means these structures which helps the plant to reproduce asexually are called vegetative propagules. So if these structures get decayed, if they are getting infected by virus or fungal infection, what will happen? The young ones will also have those diseased. The plants will be diseased variety, right? And also, if there is no dispersal of the vegetative propagules, there will be overcrowding. So sometimes what will happen? We take again the Bryophyllum example. The Bryophyllum carries the adventitious buds on its leaves. Okay, so if all the buds falls on the same place with no dispersion in between, nothing means, so all the new plants will come from they develop from the same area, so there will be overcrowding, so plants will not grow properly like this. These are all minor disadvantage. Okay, these are the disadvantages of the vegetative method of propagation in plants. Okay, so I hope you understand this lecture. Our next continuous series of this lecture will be on the topic artificial vegetative propagation method. If you like this lecture, please share with your friends and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. So meet you in another lecture. Till you take care.